Let me tell you the story of the time I got hit on by a man. And welcome. This is a simple English video for students learning English. Most of my students are, well, all of my students are from Latin America, but of course if you're from another country and you've stumbled upon this video thanks to the algorithm, my name is Profe Kyle and I am an English teacher to Spanish speaking people, but who knows, maybe in the future to other speaking people. And this is a simple English video. I'm gonna try to have subtitles for this. They should be right here. So if you want subtitles in English to help you out while you're watching the video, test your listening, learn new vocabulary, then yeah, turn on the subtitles. Don't be silly. Use subtitles. It's one of the best tools you can use to expand your vocabulary. Besides reading, the best way to expand vocabulary. So, the story I'm going to tell you happened in, I believe, 2012. I'm going to say 2012. So at that time, I was finishing my final semester of university at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, and I was working two jobs at that time. I was working as a waiter. Yeah, I was working as a waiter in just a regular craft beer bar slash restaurant in the Olympic Village in Vancouver, and I was also working as a bartender slash waiter at a seafood restaurant by, I believe, Second Beach in Davie Village. I believe it's Davie Village in Vancouver, which is basically in downtown Vancouver, a very touristic part of Vancouver. So this restaurant was more for tourists than for locals. So I was working at these two places. I had an interesting schedule. I can't remember what the schedule was, but yeah, I think like 2 or 3 days I would work at the bar, the craft beer place, and then the other 3 days I would work at the seafood restaurant. And at that time I was living a little bit far away from work. I was living with my Mexican roommate Moises in another part of Vancouver, more close to, I believe it was called a Main Street. It was more by Queen Elizabeth Park in Vancouver. And yeah, I would have to take the Vancouver Metro to get to work. So I'd walk about 10 minutes to go to the metro station nearest to my place, and I would take that about 4 or 5 stops in order to get to downtown Vancouver. And yeah, then I would get off and I would walk. I believe I walked. I would walk to work. I think the walk from the metro station in downtown Vancouver to the restaurant, it probably took me 15, 20 minutes to get there. And it was a nice walk. One thing I love about Vancouver, especially downtown Vancouver, it's very walkable compared to many other cities in the world where, because of insecurity or because of bad urban planning, not really walkable. But it was a very enjoyable walk. And of course, in order to walk to the restaurant, I would have to pass through Davie Village, and yeah, I would walk along Davie Street. So if you don't know about Vancouver, Davie Village is basically the gay neighborhood in Vancouver, and I believe it's one of the biggest gay neighborhoods in all of the world, and probably the second biggest in North America. I believe San Francisco has the biggest gay neighborhood in North America, but yeah, Vancouver, I believe, is second place with Davie Village. I believe it's Davie Village. It's been a long time since I lived in Vancouver. So yeah, I would walk along Davie Street, and many times before I got to work, because I would work a bit of an early shift, more of the lunch, more of the lunch shift. So I would get there, I think like 10 in the morning or 11 in the morning to get things ready. And before I got to work, I would like to get a smoothie from Booster Juice. Booster Juice is a very popular and very widespread smoothie chain in Canada, and for me, they have really good smoothies. I always enjoyed their smoothies ever since I was a little kid. I believe it even started in my province of Alberta, and then it spread throughout Canada. So yeah, many times I would stop in at Booster Juice and get myself a nice smoothie. And one thing you need to know about me is that I'm a bit of an introvert, and I've always wanted to have more male friends. I always felt like it was important for a man to have male friends, but I never really had them just because of my personality. I think I'm going to make a video in the future about my personality, but I have a very introverted personality, and obviously that can make it hard to make friends, whether they're women or men. But I believe for men it's very important that they have male friends in order to have those male bonds. Those male bonds are incredibly important to men, and I believe all men should have them. And I'm not going to lie, I still don't really have any strong male bonds. I would love to have them. It's not the easiest thing in the world for me to do. So this is important. You might be wondering why I'm talking about this, but it's very important for this story to understand why I made some of these decisions. So yeah, we go to this Booster Juice place, and there was one young guy that was almost always working there when I would go in to get my smoothie. I can't remember his name, but he seemed to be of Filipino descent, or maybe like half, I don't know, half Filipino, half Chinese, some sort of Filipino or Asian mixture. And I would go in there, and he was a little bit shy, seemed to be a little bit introverted, but he seemed to be very creative. He liked to draw, and he had all these drawings he would put on like the tip jar, for example. And I believe we started talking because he had drawn a Pokemon on a tip jar sign. And if you don't know, one of my favorite things when I was a kid was Pokemon. So I started talking to him about Pokemon. And from there, we started talking more and more every time I would go into the Booster Juice. And it kind of seemed like we had some things in common. He seemed to be a chill guy. So in my head I was thinking, this might be my lucky break. I might have found a male friend that has things in common with me. So I can't remember what exactly happened. I do believe I told him that I worked in the restaurant, which was about 1 block away. He was like, oh, wow, really? And I believe I invited him to come to the restaurant, and he accepted. So I can't remember how long this was happening, whether it was a few weeks or a few months, but he comes to the restaurant. He comes by himself, which, I do things by myself, but in a way it was a little bit strange. But he came and he made sure to sit in my section of the restaurant. I guess I could make a video more about restaurants in Canada and the United States, because it seems like in other parts of the world they don't run them like this. But basically in the Anglo American restaurant service world, waiters have sections. So normally you're gonna have 4 to 6 tables in your section. It's not chaotic like it is in other parts of the world where it's just random waiters going to random tables. I don't really like that. It doesn't really work. I don't know why people who have restaurants don't try to adopt more of the North Anglo-American restaurant style, because it works very well. So he comes to the restaurant. He makes sure to sit in my system. Another thing that I like about the Anglo-American restaurant service is there's usually a host or a hostess, normally a hostess, and yeah, many times they're kind of cute. They're these cute girls, and yeah. So, anyways, this yeah, the hostess. Yeah, at the time I think there was like a Chinese Canadian hostess, and there was a Brazilian hostess working at the front. So one of them basically took him to my section. He arrived. He's like, "Oh, here, I'm Kyle's friend. He invited me to come. So, yeah, are you able to put me into his section?" And yeah, so they brought him to my section, and yeah, I gave him service. And I think it was at that time I noticed there was something different about him. I didn't know what it was. At the time, I just kind of thought, oh, he's very introverted. That's why he acts a little bit different. But at the time, I didn't really think that he was gay. I think the reason I didn't think he was gay was because he didn't really have that stereotypical gay way of speaking. So I think, of course, if you met gay guys, you know that a lot of them have that, "Oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, you're doing fantastic." That's what I like to hear. It doesn't matter what language they speak. It doesn't matter if they speak Spanish, English, Chinese. For whatever reason, yeah, gay guys have that gay way of speaking. But I have met gay guys that don't really speak like gay guys, which is always, which always surprises me a little bit, just because, yeah, you don't think that they're gay because they don't speak like they're gay. So this guy, he didn't really have that gay way of speaking. So I think for that reason, I didn't really think he was gay at that time. I just kind of thought, well, he's not quite, acting like a regular guy would, but who knows? He's from an Asian background. Maybe Asian guys, especially if they're introverted Asian guys, act a little bit different than regular white guys. So anyways, he came to the restaurant. I can't remember all the details because this happened about 10 years ago. But for now, I'm going to say that he came, I served him, we talked a little bit. I believe he liked to draw, so he was drawing things while he was waiting for his food. And then he left. And I can't remember if we decided that after my shift, we were going to meet up in the bar, which was on the first floor of the restaurant, or we were going to meet up at the bar another day. So for now, I'm just going to say that I finished my shift and we met up at the bar downstairs. So again, I still was just thinking that he was a little bit introverted, a little bit strange, but I didn't mind. He liked to draw, he liked Pokemon, we had similar interests, so I just thought, hey, well, I'm a little bit strange. I don't really care if he's strange. Yeah, we're just gonna hang out, have a few drinks, and get to know each other a little bit. And I wanted to see if I'd found a friend or not. So we meet up at the bar. The bar at this restaurant where I worked, it was like a stereotypical, maybe English style pub bar. So I had the pub table. So it was elevated. They had the high stools to sit on, and then you had the bartender behind it and the alcohol behind, and yeah, lots of wood on the bar. So it was a nice bar. I liked it. I believe I worked behind that bar a few times while I worked there. So anyways, we sit down. Yeah, I'd already eaten supper, he'd already eaten supper, so we were just getting drinks. So I ordered something. I'm pretty sure I ordered a cocktail. I don't really like beer that much. I prefer cocktails. I believe he ordered a cocktail too. And so we get our cocktails, and we're talking, and we're talking, and we're talking, and I start to realize that he seemed to be flirting with me. Now, why did I think he was flirting with me? Or how did I realize this? Well, because he was doing things with me that I like to do with girls. So there's, if you study the science of flirting, so many Canadian men don't really know how to talk to women. So yeah, many Canadian men, they have to basically learn the science of flirting with a woman, because our fathers, our uncles don't really teach us, because they don't know, or because they're just bad role models. So the term in the science of flirting world, we'll call it, or the masculinity world, is kino, which is basically you make a few jokes, the girl laughs, and you try to find an excuse to, to touch her, whether it's like to, give her a playful punch or put your hand on her shoulder to try to break that barrier between you and her and get her used to your physical presence. And so we're talking, and I would make a joke, or he would make a joke, and he would playfully slap me, just like I would do with a girl, or like a girl would do with me. And it was literally at that moment when I received my first playful slap from him, I realized, oh, this guy doesn't want to be my friend. This guy's flirting with me. This guy's gay. Huh. Now, of course, if you're watching this and you're like, oh, what's the problem with gay guys? I really don't have a problem with gay guys, but I'm just not gay. I just have no interest in gay culture or doing things with other men. It's just, I love women, and I have no interest in that. So obviously, I realized this, and I immediately got a little bit uncomfortable because, I knew he wasn't just looking for a quick conversation and to make friends. And again, a person can be gay and be friends with straight men. That's possible. My first best friend in university was a Mexican guy who, within the first few months of being in Vancouver, came out as bisexual, and then probably within a year he decided that he was completely 100% gay. And I was friends with him. He never really came on to me. My girlfriend at that time, she was always a little bit worried that I was gonna do something with him, or he's gonna try to do something with me. But no, we were always just friends. He never really flirted with me. We just talked and did things as friends. But this guy, he was flirting with me. So I was uncomfortable because, well, I didn't really know how to handle the situation. I was young. I'm from a part of Canada where, a rural part of Canada where there's not really that many gay people. And of course, Canadians are not very confrontational. So, I didn't want to be like, hey, buddy, I know you're gay, but I'm not gay. So stop that. Canadians don't like confrontation. And I was in Vancouver too. Vancouver's a very gay city. So, I didn't want to, say something like that. And then who knows, maybe he's like, I can't believe you're a homophobe. And then he makes a scene in the restaurant, and then everybody's like, oh, look at that evil white straight guy, he's a homophobe. And then, they got the pitchforks out and they want to kick me out and I get fired, something like that. So I was a little bit worried for many different reasons about the situation. So before all this happened, in my head I was thinking, oh, I want to be friends with this guy. He seems creative, seems interesting, and we're gonna have a few drinks, get to know each other, shoot the shit like two guys do. But he did the playful slap. I realized he was flirting with me, and immediately in that moment I realized, this is not what I was expecting. I'm uncomfortable. I want to get out of this situation as fast as I can. So basically we finished our first drinks, and again, it's been about 10 years since this happened. I think I just said, oh, I'm tired, I gotta go home. And he was like, oh, okay, cool, let's go home. Now, I was gonna go to the metro station in order to get home, and he was also walking the same way. So basically, we accompanied each other on our ways home. Now, about halfway to the metro station, he makes a proposal. As Romeo Santos would say, maybe an indecent proposal. I'm not gonna say it's indecent. Of course, he was just a gay guy trying to get some action. It'd be just like a straight guy trying to get some action with a girl. I would probably do the same thing if it was a girl that I wanted to get with, I wanted to have some action with. So halfway through, he tells me, hey, I'm staying in Yaletown right now. Yaletown is a bit of a fancy downtown neighborhood in Vancouver. I'm house sitting the apartment of a friend. Why don't you come over to my place? We can continue talking, have some drinks, and then you can stay the night. We were walking beside each other, and I'm pretty sure I was looking straight ahead, and my eyes were just getting wider and wider with each description of his plans for the night. Of course, he didn't say what we were going to do when I stayed overnight, but I was pretty sure something would happen if I accepted his invitation. So I don't remember what excuse I made. I think I probably told him that I couldn't because I had to wake up early the next morning for work. So yeah, tonight I probably wasn't gonna be able to stay the night. So it was a little bit uncomfortable to try to reject somebody. I kind of knew what it felt like to be a woman rejecting a man that she wasn't completely comfortable with or that she really wasn't interested in. And then we continued our walk for a few more blocks. I got to the metro station. I said goodbye to the guy, and I went home. Now, of course, if a guy is wanting to, hook up with a girl, he'll probably send her a text message the next day or in a few days to try to keep the ball moving. But I think this guy realized that I was 100% straight, and I never sent him a message. He never sent me a message. I never went back to the Booster Juice. I think I only worked at that restaurant for a few more months afterwards, but yeah, I never went back to the Booster Juice just because I didn't want to see him again and have an awkward conversation. And yeah, that's the story about almost getting picked up by a gay guy that I thought was just going to be my new friend. And for me, a funny story in my life. Do you think it's funny? Do you think it's strange? Do you think I'm a horrible person? Give me your comment below in the comments, and I would love to read them. And of course, if you have any questions about my past or other stories or about this story, then let me know down below. And hopefully you practiced your listening with the story, you learned some new vocabulary from the story. Of course, if there were any words that I used, any expressions that I used that you didn't quite understand, leave a question down below and I'll do my best to answer your question. And that's it for now. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you soon, my dear, dear student.